everybody, starting one more live, and finally gonna have a live with an English-speaking person, who can speak English. It's so English that are you having a tea?
A cup of English tea, yes.
My God, that's so English of you, isn't it? So, Arron, for people who doesn't know who are you, basically, to be honest, most of people don't know who are you in this live. Tell me more about you. Who are you and stuff like that, like basically.
Well, my name's Arron. We met on set acting
Yeah. Yeah.
with heavy inverted commas on a show called Ted Lasso, and you told me about your podcast where you interviewed interesting people, which I thought was brilliant. And then you asked to interview me, and I thought, well, I'm not very fucking interesting. But as your first, am I your first English-speaking guest?
Yeah, your first English speaking person. I had one Brazilian. So basically, you are the second on my podcast. So the first one was a Brazilian guy who speaks English. But to be honest, he shouts English. He screams English. It's a different technique.
So
and then you're gonna be the first. Yeah.
Hopefully, I can be interesting by default then, because you've got no other Englishmen to compare me to, yeah. So I should be like equally interesting and boring in the same ratio. So yeah, about me, I think the reason you wanted to interview me mainly was the two big things we talked about when we were together all day. Was I'm in an AC/DC tribute band. I'm the lead singer and have been for 15 years. I also co-organise the UK's biggest dedicated retro gaming event called Revival Retro Events. So yeah, I think we want to talk about music and games.
Music and games, yes. But before that, people want to know more about you. For example, are you based in Midlands? Yeah, East Midlands. Am I right?
I'm in a place called the Black Country, which sounds racist, but isn't. That's the West Midlands, and the reason it's called the Black Country, a bit of local history, is because it was primarily the heart of the Industrial Revolution. And we've got our own flag, and it's red, white, and black, because the Black Country was said to be black by day because of all the smoke, and red by night because of all the foundries. So it's a bit of an apocryphal tale. I don't know whether it's true, but apparently Queen Victoria was on a train riding through the area, and she looked out of a window and said, "What a dirty black county," and it got dubbed the Black County, which turned into the Black Country. So that's where I'm from, and it's in the West Midlands in England.
West Midlands in England. Perfect. So, and then tell me more about the West Midlands. So what's about the culture there? What's the difference between like the West Midlands from for example, like from the north or from the south?
Well, I think the Midlands gets overlooked in a way because you've sort of got London, which is almost a fucking state within a state, almost like a country within a country, and they consider everybody that is north of the Watford Gap northerners. And so, there's a bit of rivalry, and that's, they look at the north. The way America, they look at the south as being primitive and backwards. Well, it's sort of the opposite in England. The south look at the north as being a bit primitive and backwards. But even though people in London would consider me a northerner, nobody in the north would consider me a northerner. They'd consider me a southerner. And so you're sort of in a weird hinterland, a weird middle ground. As for culture, it's quite the language. I mean, even though I'm speaking English, I've cleaned it up a lot to be understood. If I was speaking in my actual dialect, called the Black Country dialect, you'd probably find me unintelligible. Do you want me to speak a bit of it?
Yeah, try it. I'll see if I can understand what you're saying.
Yo, bay, God going down the bin, yeah.
Wow, I didn't get nothing at all. Wow.
Well, all that means is you're not going down there, are you? In the Black Country, the difference between a dialect and an accent is an accent is a change of existing words. The way they sound. A dialect is we've got our own words. So instead of saying not, we'd say bay, and we've got our own words. And when you hear us, we get called by people in the UK, we get called yam yams. And the reason for that is because when people not from the Black Country, they can overhear us speak, it sounds like we're going yam 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 yam. So they call it
Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man, yeah.
Oh,
But
really?
interesting bit of gaming trivia, because obviously you got me on here to talk about gaming. Do you know why Pac-Man's called Pac-Man? That wasn't his original name.
Because if he was now, would have been called Pac-Man. Would have been called Pac-Person.
Pac, gender fluid sphere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to be.
But originally, he was supposed to be called Puck-Man because the Japanese, the way in England or in English-speaking countries, if somebody eats, we say like chomp, chomp, chomp or munch, munch, munch. In Japan, they say puck, puck, puck. So they're going to call him Puck-Man. But they were worried about when they released it outside into the West, the P may be scratched off intentionally so it would look like Fuckman. So they changed him to Pac-Man.
I get it. I didn't know that. Look at
Yeah.
it. We learned something today. Culture, proper culture here. In the black country, yeah. It's like normal. You like beer, probably. You like beer, football. Is it?
Yeah, it's very working class. Very, I mean, a lot of the working class have they've become like petty bourgeoisie in the last couple of generations. You know, they hate unions and they hate the left, even though it's the unions and the left that got them all the benefits and the nationalised health system that they all fucking depend on. But yeah, it's very working class, a lot of heavy drinking, a lot of football. The big team closest to me is Wolverhampton Wanderers. I don't know a lot about football, but I think they're in the Premier League. I don't fucking know, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, they were like one of the lower divisions, but I think they're in the Premier League now. So a very working class, sort of what you might call salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth. Perfect. Yeah, what about food, man? Because people don't know what's people eat in West Midlands.
Well, actually, there was a bit of a mini scandal on Facebook a couple of years ago because one of the sort of local cuisines, I don't like it, but one of the local cuisines is called faggots and pays. Well, faggots, that just brings up the fucking Zuckerberg alarms on Facebook. So whenever somebody from the black country was talking about this dish, which is basically like offal, if that's the faggot, and peas is how we pronounce peas, basically faggots and peas. So whenever somebody was talking about food, that particular dish on Facebook, they were getting banned from Facebook. So there had to be a bit of a campaign saying, no, look, we're not saying homosexuals, we're saying this dish called faggots and peas. So yeah, things like that. I mean, it's like everywhere. Everybody eats fucking McDonald's now. You know what I mean? But as for local sort of cuisine, you got things like faggots and peas, black pudding. Black pudding's nice. You know, black pudding is.
Is it coming from their area because it's black country? Black pudding's from there. Nothing to do with that.
No, I imagine it's from up north. To be honest with you, but I don't know. But it's black pudding's basically pig's blood and like breadcrumbs, like blood sausage, I suppose. Like, but it's a black colour, so it's called black pudding. That's nice. It sounds disgusting, but it's really nice. It's a bit like haggis in a way. It tastes quite similar to haggis, which is also nice and sounds disgusting. So yeah, as for food, that's about it really.
Is it vegetarian days or vegan?
What, in the black country?
No, this food is like this food you told me. It's like vegetarian, vegan. What's
it's pig's blood.
Pig's blood, yeah.
Yeah. it's about as unvegetarian as you get.
Yeah, it's not vegetarian at all, people. So if you're a vegetarian, don't try the black pudding.
And it's definitely not kosher, and it's definitely not halal.
Perfect. And it's like this. So, like, let's talk about gaming. Like, you been. So, do you like probably you like play games? I guess
all the time.
All the time. Every night.
Pretty much, yeah.
So why do you prefer like vintage game rather than the new ones? Because suppose the new ones now is amazing with the graphics, whatever. I don't play games, so I don't know, but it's supposed to be very good. It's almost real.
I think there's a few reasons why the retro scene's so big. I think one, retro games have got what they call a pick up and play nature that stemmed from the arcades. You could literally put your 10p in and you could play. There was like a joystick and maybe one or two buttons, and it took you 10 seconds to figure it out. Nowadays, a lot of games, modern games, they require 10 or 20 buttons and a week of tutorials and hand holding to get you to understand the basics. So there's the ease factor, I suppose. I think the retro scene, I think the main reason the retro scene's so big now is just nostalgia. I think there's a lot of people, because the average age of a gamer is about 35. And 35 year old, I myself am 40. we're at the stage now where we can afford all the games we couldn't when we were kids, and it's quite a bit like a comfort blanket. You know, you get to go back and play the old. And for a time, it was a lot cheaper as well. I mean, 10 years ago, retro gaming was dirt cheap. Now it's ridiculously expensive. I mean, I sold one of my old games during COVID because I was broke. Because obviously my band was mothballed. There was no acting going on, things like that. I sold one of my games for £625. One game. Do you know what I mean?
Which one?
It's called Panzer Dragoon Saga on the Sega Saturn. It's from about 1997, but it's really rare. It's really good because price doesn't always indicate quality. Sometimes it's mainly rarity, but it's a rare game. It's very good. But I had to make a sacrifice and I had to go. And like I say, I paid about £50 for it back in the day, and I sold it for £625 to a bloke in Germany.
Wow. What about because in these days I saw a message here because there is a big rivalry between people who plays PlayStation and people who plays Xbox. Supposed to be a big thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always existed. I find it quite comical now because back in the 80s, when you had a lot of variation, you had Sinclair Spectrum in the UK, Europe, and I think it made its way to Brazil as well. You had the American Commodore, you had the British Amstrad, Alan Sugar, that prick. You had like Russian, strange Russian stuff, Soviet stuff that never made it over here. You obviously had the Japanese stuff like the Famicom, Sega, which is probably my favourite, and they were all
Atari.
Yeah, Atari as well. But they were all quite different. They look different. The components inside were often very different. The game libraries were very different. So you could understand there being a rivalry. Nowadays, with Xbox and PlayStation, they're nearly identical. They're basically PCs in a box, and they've got 99% of the same game library. So why that rivalry exists is, well, one, I find it stupid and farcical, but it also just shows what human beings are like. They'll fight over fucking anything. You know, the colour of a rosette on a straw donkey, whether you've got Xbox or PlayStation, half the time there's no difference really.
I get it. All right, so you always, your favorite was what? Atari, Sega, which
Sega.
one? Sega.
Yeah, Sega, definitely.
Can you play the same games? Like, for example, can you play Pac-Man, Atari, play Pac-Man on Sega? No.
No, completely different. There was some backwards compatibility, like the first Sega console I had in the 80s was the Master System, which was, I mean, for your Brazilian Portuguese-speaking listeners, the Master
you said
System,
now, look at that. Brazil is the country leader on Master System console sales. Yeah.
100%. The Master System was still selling in Brazil, like fucking well into I think it might even been into the PlayStation 2 era. They kept releasing iterations. They had their own company called Tech Toy. Somebody will probably mention Tech Toy in the comments. And they were making games long after the Master System had died a death everywhere else. And some of those games are really expensive now because you usually have to get them from Brazil, like Street Fighter for the Master System by Tech Toy. That's like a couple £100 now. And I mean, it's a miracle marvel how they got it to work on the Master System, but it plays like a bag of shit. But it's like a couple £100. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there was some backwards compatibility. Like the Master System came out first, then you got the Mega Drive, but they released.
I remember Mega Drive as well. Yeah.
The Mega Drive was probably their biggest one. In fact, I think it was their biggest one. And they released add-on components that you could plug into the top of your Mega Drive, and it would let you play your Master System games. The Game Gear as well, that had a Master System converter. So there's always ways within internal companies to play games on different systems, but there was very rarely ways you could play an Atari game on, say, you could never play an Atari game on a Sega or a Nintendo. But back in the day, the ColecoVision, they released an add-on, so you could play Atari games on the ColecoVision, which is mad if you think about it. I mean, imagine what Microsoft would do if PlayStation released an add-on so you could play Xbox games on the PlayStation. I mean, there'd be lawsuits up your arsehole, really, wouldn't there? It just shows what a sort of a Wild West different time it was for gaming in the 70s and 80s.
All right. Is it because I remember like what is called vintage? For example, like Super Mario, Sonic, River Ride, Pac-Man, uh, and then Street Fight is part of the vintage as well, or Mortal Kombat. When it starts like when is like there is like let's
The
say
cut
like
off.
yeah,
Well,
what is not vintage?
that's open to opinion. I mean, I
Ah,
used to subscribe to. I write articles for a gaming magazine called Fusion, and you in the on the forums and on the Facebook pages, you'll find a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that game that was reviewed wasn't retro," and you'll think to yourself, "Well, it's 20 years old. I mean, there are people reading this magazine who weren't born, so just because it's not vintage or retro to you, it predates the existence of some of your readers. So it's all open to opinion. Me personally, I think when you get into I think the PlayStation 2 is arguably the last sort of classic console. After that, they get very online heavy, very multiplayer focused. You get your first sort of games that are only online multiplayer, so they're in effect worthless once the forums die and once the rooms die. So I'd say the PlayStation 2, the Dreamcast, that's sort of the last classical era, I'd say, which was about 2000, so like 20 years. But some people completely disagree, and it's got to be the old micros like the BBC, the Spectrum, the Commodore, the Amstrad. Anything past 1986 is sacrilege, and so it's all personal opinion, really.
yeah. Uh, I think from 3D PlayStation 1 games onwards, we can consider as modern games. What do you think?
See, now I disagree.
Okay.
I would imagine this person is probably maybe my age or a bit older, and the PlayStation was probably part of his real formative, or the last console that wasn't part of his formative years. I'd, it was a giant leap. The PlayStation was a giant leap. When you look at the previous generations, like the Mega Drive, the Super Nintendo, and then there's the PlayStation, which is the generation after. It does seem like quite a gulf. So I can understand his point of view. It does look like there's been a massive technological leap, and they do look more modern. So I can understand his point of view, but I would disagree. For me, it's when things start to become online heavy and multiplayer heavy and online exclusive, and we're at the point now where we've got consoles that don't even accept physical media. Everything has to be downloaded, and that's a con as well. I encourage any gamer person friend listening, do not buy a digital only console, because they've got you by the bollocks. You can't go and buy a second-hand game for £5. You have got to download it off their store for £50. So that's the death of gaming for me. When everything becomes digital, gaming's dead.
Okay, so you prefer when it's like you buy the how they call the thing there, like
The
the
CD,
game,
the cartridge.
a cartridge, yeah. That
Yeah,
was the cartridge, yeah.
yeah.
So the CD is then is like modern now. From the CD is modern, or only the cartridge is vintage, or doesn't matter. Depends what is inside.
Yeah, well, a lot of people consider the move from cartridge to CD a big watershed moment, and that's sort of where retro died. Again, I don't agree, but I understand the opinion because it is a big shift. You could store a lot more on a CD. It was like 700 megabytes on a CD, and before that on cartridges, it was, I don't know, something like 60 megabytes or 30 megabytes. You got the Neo Geo, which might be like 200 and something megabytes. But CDs came along and they were like 2 or 3 times, or sometimes more, the capacity, so you could do more. Then the Dreamcast came out, and they got what they call GDs. Basically, it was just a CD that held a gigabyte, hence the G. So it was like 1,000 megabytes. I can understand people who see the CD as the cut-off point. I don't agree, but I can see why they think that, because it was such a large leap forward.
Perfect. Some people are kind of complain about you speak English. Can you speak everything you said in Portuguese now, so they can understand, please?
Me personally, or you? You're going to translate. I can do Black Country.
Sorry. Okay. So, are you saying that you're gonna learn Portuguese and come back here the next year, maybe, and then
Yeah,
do everything?
give me 5 minutes. I'll learn some Portuguese and I'll get back to you.
Okay, people. So 5 minutes, you're gonna learn everything. Perfect. It's like you have a very high IQ, I guess. Yeah.
Uh,
Amazing IQ. What's the like? Would you say like the top? I don't know, top 5 or top 10 games? Like the like for example, like the way I think Pac-Man, River Rides, Donkey Kong. Uh, what else you think?
do you mean top 5 most influential games or my personal favourite? Because
Um,
you mentioned River Raid a lot, and River Raid is very influential. I mean, uh, back in the day, you had like Atari, and all the programmers who worked for Atari, they never got credited. They were almost seen as just staff, even though they were the geniuses. So they left. A lot of them left and formed their own third-party company called Activision. And River Raid. I mean, there ain't gaming is still quite male focused and male dominated, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was all men. But River Raid, one of the best games on the Atari, I think that was done pretty much by one woman who were for Activision. So that's a really influential game. As for my personal favourites, I mean, I've got them all. I've got them on me.
Oh, you have your tattoo of a River Raid. Let me see.
No,
Where is
not
this?
River Raid. That's
Of the
Metal
woman.
Gear Solid.
What do you? I can't see it. What's
Hang
that?
That is Metal Gear Solid.
Uh huh.
That is Legend of Zelda.
Uh huh.
That is, hang on, Doom. I met the
Oh, you
bloke
have
who made
Doom.
Doom.
Doom is the green man there, is he? Is that
Yeah,
man?
yeah. That is Silent Hill, and that is Soul Reaver. So I've got Resident Evil 2 there as well, and Final Fantasy 7. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
those are my favourites.
Which one? I saw something like in your elbow. Like, what's that? Like a, yeah, this one. Yeah.
That's the
What's
most
this?
That's Overwatch, and that's the most painful thing I've ever done in my life.
Is that game? This?
Overwatch, yeah, that is one. That's the only modern game I've got on my arm actually, because I'm quite vintage retro. But yeah, that was. I'll be honest. Any tattoo heads out there, if you've never had your elbow tattooed, fucking don't. It's the worst pain I have ever felt. That black there, I thought I was going to die. It was fucking horrendous. Anybody who says it doesn't hurt is just showing off, to be honest, trying to look hard because it's awful. Never get your elbow tattooed.
Never know. I heard about the neck. It's really it hurt a lot.
I imagine so, but I would never have my neck done purely because of the acting work that we do. They're quite stuffy when it comes to tattoos. So all my tattoos are covered up. I mean, we worked together all day, and you didn't even know I got any tattoos, did you?
No, no, no. I didn't. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking. If you have a tattoo, it's not like I go around looking, man. So do we? Do you have a tattoo? And show me your tattoos. I don't think. I don't know. I don't. It's me. Maybe you do that. You know?
Sometimes you have to. I mean, my friend, he's got simply just got the word Metallica tattooed on his arse. So
It's us.
on his arse, on his bum cheek.
You know this like Metallica. Then it's like what Metallica.
No, just on one cheek.
Just one. I thought it was like it was
No,
each side.
no, just on one cheek.
He does he show you his bum? So how do you know this he has?
Well, he used to. He'd get drunk.
He
He'd
get
get
drunk.
drunk. He'd
Yeah.
leave the room, and we'd just think he'd gone to the toilet, and we'd all carry on drinking and talking, and he'd be gone for a long time. And then you'd think, well, where is he? And then you'd look at the door, and he'd just be standing there completely naked. And then he'd just leave and get dressed and come back.
Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why he has a Metallica tattoo. That's it.
Yeah,
Nothing else. Maybe in his cock or something else in his cock.
he was all.
Pantera. Maybe
No,
Pantera. I don't know. Something.
Y and T, and when he gets hard, it says yesterday and tomorrow. Now, nothing as far as I know, and he was always getting his cock out, so I would know if he had a tattoo on his cock.
Okay, perfect. So basically, no, it's good that you have like friends like that. We know if they have tattoos and stuff like that. Perfect. And talk about like Metallica. You were like you were like a lead singer. You were like a how do you call it? Bon Scott. Yeah. What's the
Brian
name?
Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
Not Boris Johnson. Not Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson. So you are the Boris Johnson. Okay.
I'm the Boris Johnson of the ACDC community. Yeah.
All
Boris.
right. So it's Boris
Brian.
Brian Scott. Brian
Brian
Scott.
Johnson. Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
The first singer was called Bon Scott. He died in
He died.
1979 or 1980. Then they got Brian Johnson almost immediately after, and that's when they released the Back in Black album in 1981. And it was as far as I know, it was the second biggest selling album worldwide of the entire decade of the 80s. The only album that beat it was the biggest selling album of all time, which was Michael Jackson's Thriller.
I didn't know that.
I think that's true. Don't quote me. I'm sure it's a Google search away there. So, people in the comments, you can tell me if I'm talking shit.
So basically, like you sound like him. Because I was looking. To be fair, I was looking for someone. I was looking for like AC/DC tribute bands, and then I wasn't sure if it was you or not.
Good. That's the point.
That's the point. So sounds good. The guy sounds good, but I wasn't sure if it was you.
If you searched whole lot of DC, there's two. There's one that is in Scandinavia somewhere, I think, but they've got a very fat. I think they've got a fat Angus. He's a larger gentleman, whereas our Angus, he's got the same sort of body type as Angus. Looks a lot more like him. So if you had a fat lead guitarist, it wasn't me. If you had a thin lead guitarist, it was me.
I think the guy was skinny. The guy I saw, the Angus Young, was skinny.
That's me.
So basically, you are supposed to be like Bon Scott, yeah?
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Of course, it's complicated, isn't it?
Especially when you throw Boris Johnson into the mix. Yeah, it's really.
You said that. You put Boris Johnson in there. I don't know why. I know you're a big fan of Boris Johnson, but you're not supposed to talk about politics in this. Anything you say like, yeah, Boris Johnson. Like we talk about, I don't know, food, Boris Johnson. I don't know why you do that. But
sorry, it's like a nervous tick, Boris Johnson.
So yeah. So how you end up like I don't know. You like AC/DC, then maybe you like singing. Then someone you sound like that guy from AC/DC. Is that way it works or not?
Well, no. It was really weird how I ended up in the band. I'll try and keep it short as possible because it's a long story. But I was a group of friends started a band, and they had no singer. I said, "There's no way I'm doing it. I'm too nervous, too self-conscious. There's no way I could get up on stage because stage fright. You'll have to find somebody else to do it." And they kept begging me to come to the rehearsal studio because I knew all the words to the songs that they were practicing, because I've been into rock music since I was, 5 years old. So eventually I went, okay, I'll come, but don't expect me to ever do a gig with you when you get your first gig, because I'm too self-conscious. And I went, no, it's fine. Just come and help us practice. And I did. And gradually I got to enjoy it. And I thought, I can hold a note fairly well. This is quite fun. It's a good way to spend a Saturday afternoon with my friends. Well, in the end, the person who organised the band, who run the band, he got me a job working with him in an office, which I asked him to get for me. I hated it. The people there were all wankers, bar one. And my old boss got in touch with me after a couple of months. He said, "Do you want to come back working on the building sites?" I said, "Yeah." Okay.
Oh, the boss got you.
Yeah. So I left. The person who organised the band, my friend, took exception to it. He kicked me out the band quite unceremoniously. Basically stopped being my friend. stopped getting in touch with me quite unceremoniously. And about that time as well, I just split up with my partner. I moved back in with my mom, and life was pretty grim.
Oh yeah.
Well, as it happens, my friend who kicked me out the band, he was talking to somebody at work, one of the customers, and they got talking about playing guitar because they both play guitar. And my friend who kicked me out the band, I imagine he was trying to look good. He was like, "Oh, we're in a band," and the customer said, "Oh, we're in an AC/DC tribute band." And my former friend, I imagine he maybe trying to look good. He said, "Oh, our old lead singer sounded just like Brian Johnson." And the customer said, "Oh, that's interesting because our lead singer's leaving and we need to replace him. Can I have his number?" And fair play to my friend, former friend, he did pass my number on, which he wasn't obliged to do. And I get a text message, and I'm sitting in my old childhood bedroom feeling quite sorry for myself. And it says, "I hear you sound like Boris Johnson," from an unknown number. "I hear you sound like Boris Johnson. I'm in a whole lot of DC. Would you like to come for an audition?" And I remember thinking, how much worse could my life get at the moment? Even though I doubt I'll ever be able to get the courage to do it, I'll just say yes, fuck it. Even if I've got to get really drunk and go for it, I'll do it. And I did, and I've been in the band 15 years now. We played Glastonbury 2 weeks ago.
Are you playing Glastonbury last 2 weeks
No,
ago?
not Glastonbury, Glastonbury. It's like a tribute band version, but they have about like 15, 20,000 people there, and I played
15, 12,000 people. My God, it's like this live, like 29,000 so far.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
not rich and famous either, so.
Yeah. Well, God. So how you manage to go get up like in front of the stage with 15,000 people there?
The more people there, the easier I find it.
Mhm.
The bigger the gig, the easier I find it.
You
I've
like
played,
big,
yeah,
big.
because if the smallest gig I ever played was at a new venue to 2 people, and I found that much more difficult than playing headlining Glastonbury in front of 10,000 people, because you work from the crowd, the response, and the fact that there's too many of them. You can't sort of pick out individuals. It's more of a like a blur, if you like, rather than just catching the glimpse of one of the 2 people, and you spot them yawning or something. That can put you off. But no, I'm that used to it now. It's just easy, second nature. But
So
originally, I just had to get drunk.
get drunk.
Mm.
Then you get drunk, you go to the stage.
Yeah.
There wasn't any problem because you're too drunk. Maybe then I don't know, you get sick, or maybe
Never
you're
like.
naked. If you go naked in the stage or something like that, I don't know.
I've never got like so drunk I don't know what I'm doing, but I did always used to have a few drinks. Now I still drink, but I'll have one or two during the course of the evening. Now I'm quite happy to go on stage
Without
completely
drinks.
stone cold sober. Yeah, yeah,
Oh wow, there's a big improvement. So basically, after 15 years drinking every time, now you manage to go to the stage without a drink.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. But explain to us, so can they have Glastonbury? Because I thought you were like in Glastonbury, then is Glaston budget, big
Budget.
budget, because it's cheaper. Like how much is a ticket to go to Glastonbury if you go to Glaston budget?
Well, you'd think it'd be cheaper, but Glastonbury, because it's quite a left wing sort of Greenpeace are involved, very sociologically right on sort of festival. They cap the prices. A friend of mine went for the first time to Glastonbury last week, and they came with me to Glastonbury the previous week, and they said Glastonbury was cheaper than Glastonbury because
Wow.
all of the festivals are quite corporate, and the beer's ridiculously expensive, the food's ridiculously expensive. But because Glastonbury's like a sort of, quite a left wing social right on festival, they cap the prices. So actually, despite what the name says, Glastonbury's cheaper. The tickets for Glastonbury, I think, were like if you were camping for the entire weekend, and you took, say, a camper van, because I own a camper van, and you went VIP, so you got like your own bar and stuff. Works out it was about £300 for the like 4 days, 3 or 4 days, which is a lot of fucking money, really. I mean, obviously, I'll get it for free because I'm playing there, but it's a lot of money, man. And I think Glastonbury is a similar price for the tickets, maybe, but everything else around it is so much cheaper.
Okay, I didn't know that. Wow, surprised about that. And this because I didn't know that Glastonbury was like a left-wing festival. I thought it was like a normal festival, like music. Because
Yeah,
I know, yeah,
it is, but it's got its roots. It's got its roots in the left wing. There's actually, because it's the biggest festival in the UK. I think this year there was like, I don't know, about something like 250,000 over the course of the weekend. People there in and out. The part of it is actually called the left field because it is the field on the left, but it's also where they have a lot of the more political side of it. Like, for instance, I think Billy Bragg, who's like a left-wing folk rock singer who's really popular in England, like, and his music's really fucking good as well. He headlined the left field tent, I think, this year. But yeah, it's Greenpeace was involved in the festival, I think, from the beginning. Because obviously it started a lot smaller than it is now. But yeah, it's got its roots in the environment, ecology, and left wing as a connection. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, I heard about like this year there was when he finished the Glastonbury, there was loads of rubbish everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's is a part of the Greenpeace as well. Like this, the rubbish.
That's
Like,
very unenvironmentally friendly.
I
There,
know,
there are there are I think they did there's always rubbish, obviously, because
yeah,
where there's people there's rubbish. But unlike other festivals, as part of the contracts given to anybody who, I don't know whether it's anybody who camps there or it's just people who have stalls there or work there or the charity events are there, that everybody has to be involved in the cleanup and things like I don't think they allow plastic at Glastonbury because a lot of festivals, it's all obviously there's no glass for obvious reasons because it's dangerous, but most festivals are all plastic cups. I think Glastonbury it's all cardboard. So as festivals go, it's the most environmentally friendly one probably in the world, but there's always going to be rubbish because where there's people, there's shit.
yeah. It's thousands of people. No? Like I don't know how many thousands, but probably like
Quarter of a million, I think.
250,000. Wow,
About 200,000, I think, something like that.
every day, or the
The
whole
whole
festival.
thing, the whole thing, I think.
I thought it would be more people. For some reason, I thought it would be more than that.
It's the biggest festival in the UK. I mean, for instance, Download, which used to be Monsters of Rock Donington, which I've been to a lot. That the busiest I've ever been there was 100,000. Glastonbury's about double that. But it's nowhere near the biggest festival in the world. I mean, there's festivals in South America that are bigger, but it's
Yeah,
the
there
biggest
was
one in
Rock
the
in
UK.
Rio. Yeah, they have a Rock in Rio. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
Rock in Rio they change. I think Glastonbury changed as well because before Rock in Rio so it was like rock, like it was like Iron Maiden, I don't know, Guns N' Roses, whatever. Now these days they have local pop singers. Like it's nothing to do with rock anymore. So is this happening with Glastonbury? I think I guess in the past it was more like about rock because I remember once there was one of the rapper. I don't know which rapper is married to Beyonce.
Oh,
Uh,
Jay-Z.
yeah, I remember it was a big deal when he played in Glastonbury because even like the guy from Oasis, Noel Gallagher or Liam Gallagher was complaining because he's not supposed to play because he's supposed to be more rock than rap.
Glastonbury's never been metal. It's never been hard rock. It has been more sort of indie rock, folk rock, pop rock, but it's always been quite broad. Well, it's certainly been broad for at least the 20 years I've sort of been paying attention, if you like. So you'll always get people moaning that gatekeepers moaning that this person doesn't belong and that. I mean, personally, I think Jay-Z shit. I think Beyonce shit. I won't go and see them. But I don't think they're necessarily out of place at Glastonbury. They would be at Donington, at Download, what used to be the Monsters of Rock. But there's only really the like the Rock in Rio sort of was the equivalent in our country was Donington, Monsters of Rock and Download. That's the only sort of hard rock metal big festival in this country anymore. There is Bloodstock as well. I've never been to Bloodstock, but I would like to go. But the big one is Donington Download. Yeah, Jay-Z would be able to place there, but at Glastonbury, I mean, now you had Dolly Parton on a few years ago, Neil Diamond, fucking Jay-Z, just all sorts. It's really broad, really broad.
Yeah, they had was another rapper as well, the British rapper. What's his name?
Stormzy.
Huh?
Stormzy, was he?
Yeah, Stormzy. Yeah, he was there. He was wearing like a bulletproof vest. I didn't know Glastonbury was dangerous.
No, I think he left that on from where he lived. I think where he lives is dangerous. He just forgot to take it off.
That's the reason he forgot to take off the jacket.
Yeah.
I thought it was it was the most dangerous. You know, was most of rock there was this problem with Guns N' Roses once. I think some people got killed.
My uncles were there that year. Because when I was growing up, the first thing that got me into rock music was the song Kiss, Crazy Nights, when I was like 5 years old. But after that, my uncles, who went to Monsters of Rock every year, they went to the first one. Saxon wrote a song about it called And the Band Played On. That song was about the first ever Donington. But the year the Guns N' Roses were there, it was probably the Appetite for Destruction tour, maybe. So you're talking like it would have been like 87, something like that. My uncles were there, and 2 kids got crushed to death.
Yeah, it was kind of insane there. You know? At the time, Guns N' Roses was so big, you know.
Yeah. I've seen Guns N' Roses twice, and first time I saw them, they were a bit shit. And they
probably they were like drunk or high on drugs. That's the reason why, I guess.
Yeah, and it took him like they were supposed to be on stage at like 9 o'clock, and I don't think Axl Rose showed up till like fucking 10:30. But the second time I saw him, I wasn't. It was at Donington. I wasn't going to go and see him. I was going to go and see somebody else because I'd already seen Guns N' Roses. But I've got a Skid Row tattoo on my back, and somebody at the bar at the festival noticed it, and he said, "Have you come to see Sebastian Bach, the lead singer of Skid Row, today?" And I said, Skid Row aren't playing. He said, "No, but Sebastian Bach will be on stage with Guns N' Roses today." And I was like, "Are you bullshitting me?" And to be fair, he wasn't. And you can look it up on YouTube. And it was they did My Michelle together.
Oh yeah, they do that together. Yeah, I saw that as
Brilliant.
well.
Brilliant. Yeah. That was one of the best times of my life. That was like 2 heroes on stage, and I almost missed it. In another universe, there's another Arron that's completely missed it and has never forgiven himself.
Uh-huh. You know, they done the part to do the hair. It's like kind of like one for the head, one side, the other one. They done that as well, or not?
The
No, but I think they kind of one like they are in front of each other. Then the one do the hair, the other one do the hair as well.
Nah, not that time. No. I missed that anyway.
They missed one. They done that Hammersmith Apollo, I think. Yeah, I think I saw them in Hammersmith Apollo. I don't know when, but
well, Skid Row were massive in South America, weren't they? Fucking huge.
Yeah, they're big. Yeah.
Way bigger than they were in Europe. I mean, like obviously I love them, and my friends into rock music all know they were. But outside of like the rock fraternity, nobody's really heard of them. But I used to watch the road videos that they released on VHS, and the crowds in South America and particularly in Brazil, fucking ridiculous. Like huge, massive stadium crowds, and it's like then they come over here and they play like Wolverhampton Civic Hall, which is like about 3,000 people.
And the problem, like in South America, what happened? Like they never go there. Now I think they are going there more, but in the past, like it was like once a lifetime. So that's the reason I think it was like in a big football ground. Then it was like, I don't know, 50,000, 70,000. So I guess that was the reason. It's not like here, like they come like every summer, they are around and around.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the difference. But that's so when you play for the AC/DC tribute band, you haven't opened for someone famous.
No, original artists tend to do a different circuit to tribute artists. They never seem to cross over. Probably the only famous people we have opened for. I don't know whether they had a worldwide hit, like what you call a one-hit wonder. They were a band called Doctor and the Medics. and they did a cover of Spirit in the Sky. You know, going up to the Spirit in the Sky. We opened for them once. That's about as famous as it gets, really.
Whoa. All right. You know, that question, ask him if you can sing like Sebastian Bach.
I wish. That
Wish.
man, I wish I could sing like Sebastian Bach. That man's, I mean, obviously everybody gets older and he's not the force he was, but in the late 80s and all through the 90s, I think he has one of the best voices that rock and metal's ever seen. So no, I definitely can't sing like Sebastian Bach.
No. What about talk about Brazil? Do you know like a Brazilian band called Sepultura?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen Sepultura a couple of times, and Soulfly he went on to do.
Soulfly, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I think they have another one now. Maybe Cavalera Project or something like that. I'm not sure. They keep it change. Because I think they had a
Is Max Cavalera still alive?
yes, I think both are still alive, but they have another project maybe now. Because before they had like some kind of argument. So because of like the manager, I think the manager one of those guys is married to a manager, and then there was agreement, so they split up. So now I think they're talking again, they are playing again together, and Max Igor. So I think Max is the drummer, yeah.
I thought Max was the singer.
So Igor is the drummer, yeah.
Yeah, I might be
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. So yeah, I went to see them like in London no longer time ago. I think before the COVID, and then he's a big like Antifa supporter. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
yeah. I know they had they've got sort of roots on the left. To be fair, I personally as well, not that I'm associated or affiliated with Antifa, but anything anti-fascists, all right by me. You know what I mean?
That's perfect. Yeah, so then when you play like you sound like the guy. I don't know if you can sing a little bit so people can note the I don't know, sing something like
Honestly, mate, I'm too self-conscious to do that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. Just fucking have a look at one of them.
how
No
do you
way I
know
can
that's real? Maybe like you're doing the thing, how do you call it?
auto-tune.
Yeah. That
Maybe
would
that's
be
what I am doing.
been doing that for 15 years. Okay, we'll find out a secret now, people. He's not really singing. He's pretending to be singing. It's nice.
I'm very
Is it-
good at lip syncing.
Exactly. But so what's your so because you have like so you can because they have like before the older singer and the new singer, yeah? That I forgot the name already. So can you play the old song when you play you sounds more like one or sounds more like the other one or how's it
Yeah.
work?
The old lead singer who was with him till he died in 79, 80, I don't sound like him. I think I'd make a passable approximation of Brian Johnson, who was with them from 1980 up until now. But the back catalogue from the Bon Scott days, Brian Johnson still plays a lot of it on stage. So obviously, I'll try and do the Brian Johnson interpretation because I simply can't do the Bon Scott style. Would that I could, because personally, my own musical taste, I actually prefer Bon Scott to Brian Johnson, but I can only really do Brian Johnson, which is fine because Brian Johnson's been with them like 40 years, so there's 40 years of music to pick from, and also he still himself does the former lead singer's stuff, so I can always do it in his style. So there's no real problem that I'm limited to just Brian Johnson because there's plenty of a catalogue there to pick from both artists.
Okay. You have a joke as well. How do you call the security guards outside of Samsung? The guards of the galaxy.
The Guardians of the Galaxy. Was it? Hang on. What does that? How do you call it? All right. Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy. I get it. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good. Very
Very
good.
good, very good. Yeah, people have humor here. So yeah, I was the question because now the guy is like he cannot hear. No? He's not playing with. Or he's back playing again with ACDC.
Yeah. He claimed to have ear problems a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, but I think there was a bit of something weird about that. I mean, I don't know the details, but I think I remember hearing that was more of an excuse. But yeah, he's back with them now. I've seen him a few times. I remember when I was 18 years old, they were doing the Stiff Upper Lip tour. And I remember thinking, I've got to go and see them now because they're going on, they're getting older. This will be my last chance. That was like 22 years ago, and they're still touring, you know what I mean? So I'm glad I got to see them. Seen them a couple of times now. Good, brilliant each time. Second loudest band I've ever seen. The first loudest being Motorhead. I think that's why I've got tinnitus, because of Motorhead.
Yeah, Motorhead's supposed to be the loudest. Am I right?
Really loud, really loud. I've seen Motorhead probably about 5 or 6 times, and I honestly think that's why I've got hearing trouble now, because of Motorhead. It was mad though. They were like these old like rockers who look not unlike yourself and clad in leather, and they were sticking their heads in the speakers, and I was like, Jesus, they must be deaf now, completely deaf.
Or dead.
Or dead.
Probably dead. I would say mostly are dead now. Talk about dead. The guy asked about Rainbow, right? Dio Rainbow or Dio solo? I didn't get what Rainbow.
Does he like? Which do I prefer? A Dio when he's with Rainbow, or Ronnie James Dio solo stuff?
I'm confused because because I was thinking about Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah, he was in Black
He was
Sabbath.
in Black Sabbath. I think usually people ask about Ozzy and Dio, like on Black Sabbath. I don't know. Yeah, I
But
forgot
he
about
was in
Rainbow.
another band as well. He was in a band called Elf. Do you know why the band was called Elf?
Because they are short people.
Everybody in the band was under like 5'5" or something.
Oh wow.
So yeah, me personally, I like Rainbow, and I like Dio. Luckily, I got to see Dio. I saw him support Alice Cooper in Birmingham, and he was so much better than Alice Cooper. He was one of the best gigs I've ever seen. So I'd probably say I prefer his solo stuff, even though I like Rainbow as well. I met Graham Bonnet as well. Graham Bonnet, Bonnet's Rainbow, played a local place to me in Stourbridge, like 3 mile up the road. And I managed to blag some tickets because it sold out. Luckily, we knew the guy on the door. He let us in. We got to the front, and it was a brilliant gig. And Graham Bonnet come out at the end of the night, spoke to us. He signed something for me. He asked me my name, and I said Arron. And he's like,
wow.
"Oh, my son's called Arron," and he signed it. "Thank you, Arron, for having the same name as my son, Graham Bonnet." And I thought it was quite nice.
You still have it? This?
Yeah, I've still got it. Still got it. It's in one of my keepsake treasure boxes somewhere, full of concert wristbands and tickets and autographs. I've got I met Henry Rollins, met Sebastian Bach, met quite a few, some of my political heroes as well that we're not going to talk about. But yeah,
Boris Johnson probably.
Boris Johnson. There is not a gulag cold enough. There is not a guillotine blunt enough for that man.
Nigel Farage, all this. Tony Blair. Tony Blair. Yeah, it's a good one. Is that true that Tony Blair, like someone told me, he has like 1 billion worth of property in somewhere in, I don't know, in North England? Is that? Have you heard about that?
But now, I mean, I know he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, now he's going to be a billionaire soon. I heard.
Wouldn't surprise me for a minute.
But I heard he's going to give everything to the poor. All these houses built is going to be to the poor.
yeah. I wouldn't hold your breath, mate.
I'm putting my name there. I'm poor, so I'm waiting for my one.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. So so then since you've been singing for these 15 years, tell me more about. There was any because all these 15 years sex, drugs, and rock and roll was basically like that, or when you do a tribute band, it's not like that. It's more like I don't know.
It can be sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but not in our band.
You're a gospel band, like the one Christian, born again Christian band.
It's more Newcastle brown ale, kebabs, and masturbation. That's probably more. That's probably more accurate. But to be fair, I mean, it's you pick which road you want to travel. I mean, the tribute band scene can be quite bitchy. Most bands don't keep the same line for very long. Most of them fall out. Some of them fight physically. Some of them are coked off the fucking tits. Some of them are drunk. These are people. I'm talking about these are people that I know personally. Some of them have got that drunk they fell off the stage. Now, I have taken drugs and I have drank to excess, and I have had a lot of sex. But I think if you bring that into which is basically a place of work, the band is, it's a hobby more than a job, but it does pay. I think if you bring all that shit into that environment, it'll just ruin it. And there's no way that our band is a rarity on the scene. In 15 years, we've never fell out. We've never had an argument. And I'm quite an easy person to fall out with and have an argument with. I don't like to keep my mouth shut on my opinions to myself. But we've never had an argument because everybody is calm, reasonable. Nobody's on drugs. Nobody's pissed out the brain. There's no Yoko Onos in the band. There's no partners or women sticking the noses in and ruining things. Everything's quite mellow, and that's the only way the band, any band, can survive. If you try and keep a lot of that rock and roll shit to a minimum, really.
Mm-hmm. You never thought about to leave the band, is going your solo career, like?
I haven't got enough talent.
Well, talent, yeah.
I haven't got enough talent.
I don't think tribute bands do that. It doesn't know. It's happened before, because usually tribute bands is like, then one of the guys leave the band. Like, let's say like Skid Row. So Skid Row, I think he left Skid Row. He went to solo. Mm-hmm. So the band was like a tribute to Skid Row. The guy he left the band as well.
Yeah. Well, he died not so long back, because obviously Sebastian Bach was with them from formation, I think, to their last album was Subhuman Race, which was 95. I think he left not long after that, and they had somebody called like Johnny Slozinger or something. I forgot his name, and he was with them, I think, longer than Sebastian Bach, but he was good, but he was never as good. The band as a unit, as a result, were never as good. Sebastian Bach solo was good. I saw him live. I got on stage with him. He was cool. I met him, but that was never as good. The magic from all the members of Skid Row was never there, and it hasn't ever been there since. But saying that, Skid Row have got a new singer, and I think he was a Sebastian Bach sort of tribute. He could, he like, because I think Journey did the same thing. They got somebody who was in a Journey tribute band or somebody off YouTube who could do a good approximation of Sebastian Bach. He's now their lead singer. They have released a new single with him, and it's really, really good. So hopefully, this will be maybe they'll release an album, and there'll be more than one good track on it, and hopefully Skid Row will find some kind of form again. That I would like to see. But yeah, usually when somebody leaves the band, it's never the same.
Yeah. So when happened to AC/DC, like Brian Johnson, because he left, for then they were looking.
He died.
He died. So no, Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Also, so Brian Johnson, he left the band. So then they were talking about who's gonna be his place. It was, I don't remember the other one. One was Axl Rose. They ended up being Axl Rose. And you, they never thought about you. Like, you never say, "Oh, let's invite that guy." I don't know.
I'm going to be totally honest with you, right?
Yeah.
There was like 0.0001% of my brain thanking, but what if they did phone? But what if they did call? What would you do? And I'd be like, I wouldn't do it. No way. There's no way. I'd get death threats. Fuck that. No way. But yeah, I did. Obviously, I knew it wouldn't happen. But yeah, the party is always thinking, but what if?
No, I thought maybe would. You never thought, because I think it happened to in Nexus as well. There was a guy from maybe Pop. I don't know, the Nexus. He got one guy from whatever, and then he was playing for Nexus.
Yeah.
The guy who, I don't know. There was for Queen as well. Was one guy from Pop Idol, I guess.
Pop Idol, yeah.
Lambert.
Lambert or something.
Yeah, Lambert. Adam Lambert.
Yeah. Not my cup of tea. I love Queen. Queen are probably in like definitely my top 10 bands of all time. But once Freddie was gone, that Queen was gone to me.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So yeah, there's a question here about what do you think? Who can replace Bruce Dickinson in the Iron Maiden? I don't know. Is it Bruce Dickinson? He left the Iron Maiden. No, he didn't leave it. He
No,
left.
I mean they have had other singers. I mean they had Blaze
Yeah.
Bailey.
Yeah. What happened to
Who else
Blaze
did they
Bailey,
have?
by the way?
Say again.
What happened to him?
Well, he still gigs. He still tours. He's still got a band. He used to like sort of organise mini tours with other bands, and it was called like Blaze Bailey's Rock Fest or something. But it was really funny because my friend, the friend with the Metallica tattoo, he got a job randomly 20 years ago in a factory, some agency job, and 15 years ago, something like that. And he sent me a picture. He said, "Look who's on the machine next to me." And I went, "Is that Blaze Bailey?" He went, "Yeah, he's working in the factory for some reason."
Really?
So, yeah. So there was obviously there was Paul Di'Anno. He was the founding member. He was on the first couple of albums, who I actually prefer to Bruce Dickinson. Bruce Dickinson, I mean, he's fucking brilliant, but he's a bit of a dickhead. He does my head in, that bloke. He's a proper like Brexit voting, Tory shagging, fucking, yeah. He still thinks Britain has an empire kind of wanker, that kind of thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Bruce Dickinson was like that.
Yeah, proper. Yeah, but you probably love him.
No, I don't know that. No, I don't know that.
He's amazing. He's amazing, but he's a bit of
I
a
know
dick.
he's an entrepreneur. Yeah, he has he fly a plane and he owns a plane
Yeah.
or owns a
Ed
flight
Force
company.
One, I think he's called. Is it called Ed Force One? Because
Yeah. I didn't know that was his plane as well. Yeah, because he has some. I don't know if he's in Wales or North England. He has a flight company. Am I right?
I don't know about flight company. I know
Yeah,
they
he
own the
has.
plane, but
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
okay. I know he was an Olympic fencer as well.
Oh yeah. He's Olympic fence as well, and he
He's an
was.
amazing bloke. He's an amazing bloke. You know, can't take that away from him at all. He's remarkable.
Perfect. Now, there's a question here. Richard Goldwalkins. A bad singer could, with training, become a good singer.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, some people that's why singing coaches and trainers exist, to improve people's voices. I don't think you'll ever turn a bad singer into a great singer, but you could definitely turn a bad singer into a good singer. Yeah. I mean, some people are just, it comes natural. I mean, I've always been able to hold a tone naturally. I don't know why, ever since I was a kid, I could just sing, not amazingly, but I could always recognise and keep a tone. Whereas my daughter, for instance, is fucking tone deaf. She doesn't hit the right notes even by accident. So obviously there's something in the DNA that, there's my daughter, by the way. Hello.
Hi.
I don't know what she's What do you want? You can't. I'm doing something. Come back in
He's
a bit.
working. Yeah, you're working hard.
Kids, yeah, she's currently doing that to me, which is no way to treat your dad, is it?
Oh my God.
I
Kids
know.
these days, isn't it?
I blame the parents,
Exactly. Is she's a gamer as well?
big time.
Big
Yeah,
time. She plays the old stuff or the new stuff?
all stuff. Yeah, she even though I'm not with her mother, she has spent most of her life with me. So that's why she's quite a tomboy. She's not very feminine. Because she's been with her dad all her life, and we play games all the time, most nights. Yeah, we'll probably, after this podcast, I think we're playing Half-Life 2 tonight. Actually,
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2. Yeah, and
Half-Life. I
that
don't know.
game's about 20 years old. So yeah,
I
that
don't know
game's
that
older
one.
than her.
What about the Street Fight? Do you like that one? Street Fighter. Street Fighter. Street Fight. Yeah, Street Fight. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Street Fighter 4 is one of my favourite games of all time. I play that quite a lot. I'm quite good at it, not tournament level player. You know, you're never going to see me invited to Evo or Capcom Cup or anything. But yeah, I'm quite good at it. I enjoy that one quite a lot. Yeah. Again, that's another one that's been doing the rounds since 1988. I think the first Street Fighter. So
You do have Sonic on the back. Is it Sonic is one of the favorites, or is that what? Is that card thing?
Oh yeah,
or
I actually
what?
forgot to show you that. There's a Sonic tattoo there somewhere. Can you see that?
Let me see if I put big. I can see.
There you go.
Yeah, I can see some head there. Like it's a head thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually met the creators of Sonic the Hedgehog. I always forget the names: Yuji Naka and Takeshi Iizuka. I was in a line waiting to get autographs from them with my partner at the time as well. Now they were your typical Japanese sort of austere businessmen. Never smiled all day. Didn't see him smile. Very quiet, very well mannered. Didn't speak English. Very short as well. Your typical old Japanese sort of businessman. Like neither one of them was above like 5'4". And my girlfriend at the time was quite like Amazonian. She was like in her heels. She was about 6'1". A shock of red, long red hair, and she was wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog dress. And when it was our turn to get things signed, I greeted him in Japanese. I made the effort. I said, "Hajime mashite," and he understood me and he answered. He signed my stuff, all austere, stony faced. And then my girlfriend towered above him and said, "Would you mind signing my dress across her breasts?" Like, not her breast, but the dress. And she got massive tits. Like, and the smiles on their face just appeared out of nowhere. And they looked at me. They went, "He's okay. He's okay." And I went, "Well, they're not my tits, She asked you to sign them." And they was there taking pictures, they're signing, big smiles on the face. And that was the first time I saw them smile all day when they got to sign a pair of tits.
Amazing. Oh, someone asked about Doom. You have a poster of Doom somewhere there. Which one is Doom there?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, just above. There, just above.
A little bit more on that way. Yeah. That's Doom. There's
Yeah.
another game as well. Yeah.
Well, actually, if you wait there, I'll show you a little picture I've got. Don't go anywhere.
No go.
I'm just taking something down off the wall. This is actually a picture of, if you can see that. That's so I really have trouble orientating it on the camera. That's me, dressed as chain gun dude, heavy weapon dude. That's my missus, the one with the large breasts. She's dressed as Doom Guy Girl, and that's my daughter, dressed as an imp, and that's John Romero in the middle, the man who made Doom.
Oh wow!
We got to meet him, and he was really nice. He was such a gentleman. Spent so much time talking to us. We played Doom with him as well. He spent all day. He came to Revival, the convention that I co-organise. He came as one of our guests. He's been a couple of times. He spent all day talking to people, gaming with people. His wife was there too. She was very nice, Brenda Romero. She's a game designer as well, highly regarded in her own right. And he was, to say he's such a genius and such an important figure in the gaming scene, he was really humble, just a all-round lovely bloke, really. And he's at Arcade Club in Bury in the north of England on July the 11th, and I've got tickets for that. So hopefully I'll see if he remembers me, and I'll have a chat with him on the 11th of July as well. Play some Doom.
Oh wow, it's soon, no? Because next month. No? Yeah, after tomorrow, like now, 10 days.
Yeah.
Chad is asking, what does he think of Sonic dating Tails? What was that? Is that a real question? Sometimes people asking crazy question.
Sonic dating what?
Tails.
Tails. Oh,
Tails. Yeah.
Dating Tails. That sounds like some weird weeb anime fan art gay paedophile stuff that I'm not really into, because Tails is like 5 years old and male. So yeah, I think I'll pass on having an opinion on that.
They have these things about anime. Anime is part of the game culture, or what's an anime? I don't know what's anime.
Anime is just a shortening of the word animation, but it's primarily Japanese. What in the West we'd say cartoons, the Japanese would say anime, and so anything that's Japanese and a cartoon is called anime, and it's really popular. But I have to say, in my opinion, maybe I'm just sounding like an old miserable man, but 99% of it's fucking terrible, absolutely atrocious, and there's some dark corners of it as well. I mean, some proper like pervy underage, because like the legal age of consent in Japan's like 13, so a lot of their animations a bit risky, and there's the kind of people that sort of really enjoy that side of it. We'll put it like this: I wouldn't want to be trapped in a lift with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I don't think you looks like 13 years old, so I think you'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I, I don't know, unless the guy is blind. Are you short? You're not short. You're quite tall, huh?
6 foot.
Yeah. So yeah, you no problem. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
6'2". You're not short, so you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, weebs. They call them weebs. They like to be called otakus. An
Oh God.
otaku means someone with an appreciation of Japanese culture. Now, I'd say I've got an appreciation of Japanese culture. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog's right behind me. That's as Japanese as, as Japanese can get. But weebs, that's more of a derogatory term. And it's short for weeaboo. And it's it goes beyond appreciation. It's almost like they wish they were Japanese. Like they wake up every morning and they curse the roundness of their eyes. That kind of people like that I find a bit.
People want to be Japanese, so they want to buy every day Japanese. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
never said they want to have a big, no, not big, small penis as well, or only.
Yeah. Well, some of us have already cursed with that. So.
Don't even wait. So the only thing missing for me to be a Japanese is having my eyes like that. So the only thing. So it's true. I
Yeah.
never thought about that. So I'm already Japanese. My God.
I'm
This,
close.
that's bad. Oh, this is so bad. Like, what about, because they have a lot of movies as well now. They have like Sonic move. There was a Street Fight. There was so many. There was Pikachu. No, Pikachu is too new for you. You don't like Pikachu.
I'm not into Pokemon. My daughter absolutely
Pokemon.
loves Pokemon. But when Pokemon came out, I was probably, when it came out in the West, I was probably like 15, 16. So I just started work and I was sort of not really watching cartoons and stuff like that. So it sort of passed me by a bit. But I've tried to watch it later on in life and I still don't like it. It seems to me it's more of a marketing tool than a narrative. Than a narrative structure. I mean, there were cartoons I used to watch that had brilliant stories, whereas Pokemon seems to be more about marketing. Get the cards, get all the cards, got to catch them all. I mean, South Park did a great sort of piss take and parody of Pokemon. They called it Chin Pokemon, and it's more like just to get kids to buy stuff rather than think about stuff. So it's not for me. But as to your question about video game movies, there's been a lot. I mean, a lot that have flew under the radar that have sort of gone straight to DVD, but most of them are shit. I mean, Street Fighter was shit. Mortal Kombat was all right. Sonic's about the best one. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Sonic fan. I mean, I'm a Street Fighter fan. But, the Street Fighter film is shit. I mean, Kylie Minogue's in it, which is good. But in a leotard. But other than that, it's not really got any redeeming features. But Sonic the Hedgehog movies are good. I recommend them if you're a fan.
Yeah. There's a question about Sega has a cool game called Binary Domain. Does he know? Do you know? Is that a real thing, or people are?
Hang on. Let me put my glasses on. I'm getting old. Binary Domain. Taylor, have you ever played Binary Domain? What? Have you ever played Binary Domain? No, ask him what it is. There ain't many games, especially by Sega.
Sometimes people they do jokes, so I don't know if you can trust them if it's that real thing.
It could be a joke. I mean, if it is a joke, it's fucking shit. I wouldn't open with it, but it's probably a game. It might have a different. If he's Brazilian, a lot of regions they change the names of games, so they were different in the West. So it could be a game that's got a different title in England.
Perfect. It's all about this. He likes System Shock game. Is a
Now,
real.
System Shock, right, is one of the most widely regarded, best influential games of all time. I have got a bit of a blind spot when it comes to PC exclusives, which that was, as far as I know, a PC exclusive, because I come from like a poor working class background. So I'd always get things secondhand or cheaper versions of things. And consoles were a lot cheaper than PCs, still are usually. So I never had a PC when I was growing up. So I never got to play System Shock, as 1 or 2. Bioshock, it's sort of spiritual successor. I have played the first one quite a lot, and it is amazing. I did try and play that if they like System Shock, if they're into their influential sort of more cerebral games, they've probably played Deus Ex as well. And Deus Ex is one I have played because it made it to consoles. An amazing game. Really makes you think about artificial intelligence, how we're governed, who we're governed by, who we think we're governed by, but we're actually more likely to be governed by a hidden hand, that kind of thing. Conspiracies, that kind. So probably something that they've played as well, because it's cut from a similar sort of cloth. But unfortunately, no, I've never played System Shock.
Okay, no, that's no problem. Anyway, I thought almost like 1 hour and a half. Before we go, when you finish, anyway, you have to send me like the link for your tribute band, so I can put a link like on the comments.
Yeah. And I'll send a link
description.
for the. I'll send a link for the gaming convention as well.
Yeah, for the gaming convention as well. Send it then. Put both links there, so then people can have a look. Because you couldn't sing it for us because you are shy. Are you shy, by the way?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, yeah. I think it's because I'd struggle to be in an original band because I'd be being myself. But being in a tribute band, it's almost like wearing a mask. I'm pretending to be somebody I'm not. So I find that easier. So even though, like a couple of weeks ago, I got up on stage in front of thousands of people, I can be quite shy, which is so it seems counterintuitive, but yeah, I am.
Okay. Deus Ex franchise. Do you know this Deus Ex?
Brilliant. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Cut from the same sort of cloth as System Shock. Deus Ex is very cerebral, very deep, more grown up, if you like. I mean, you still run around shooting things, but the narrative is very deep. Yeah, quality game.
Bad. Richard, being a singer helped you with women.
Yeah, look at my face. I'm no oil painting. I've had way more sex than somebody with this face has any right to have. So yeah, it does help. You do get more attractive for some reason when you get on a stage.
Oh wow!
Don't know why.
Don't know
I'm
why.
glad. I need all the help I can get. So I'm glad. But yeah, that is definitely true.
That's true. People say his side is true. So if you want to get women, you should like sing, create a tribute band. Is that difficult to be like in a tribute band, or what's the difference between a tribute band? You be a no. I guess like in a normal band, you have to create your own songs. You worry about that. Like in a tribute band, you don't care. Basically, like they create the song, you copy them. That's it.
Well,
Am I right?
original bands, there's quite a lot of snobbery. Understandable snobbery within the gigging scene. Sort of original bands sort of look down on tribute bands because they're less creative, which is true, and I can understand it. I don't subscribe to the same snobbery myself. I mean, when I was briefly in an originals band with my friends, I still loved going to see tribute bands because, I can't go and see Black Sabbath with Ozzy every day. I can't go and see Led Zeppelin at all, but I can go and see a good tribute band and have a really fun night. So I don't subscribe to the snobbery, but I understand why it exists. And I think some of it is not jealousy, but they get it a lot harder because obviously, me being in a tribute band, I've got a pre-made audience ready, set up. I book the gig, guaranteed people are going to turn up because they're AC/DC fans, not because they're fans of us, because they're fans of AC/DC. Whereas an originals band who've put a lot of work in to create their own music, their own identity, they might get a gig cancelled due to lack of interest, so they get it a lot harder. And that's probably where a lot of the resentment is. But I totally understand it.
Perfect. Oh, I would like to thank you for coming here to be the first English speaker guest. Yeah, I thought this is gonna be like Joe Rogan experience. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
But without the views, basically, like it's like a Joe Rogan, but in another universe, parallel universe, where the less people watching, the more successful you are.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll be in that universe then.
Yeah, it's gonna be the opposite. So it's not like Joe Rogan, like I don't know, 100 million downloads, whatever they do there. No, here's the opposite: 0 downloads, 0 giving a fuck, 0 share, practically 0 views,
0 interest,
0 exactly. It's gonna be something like that. So, but like I said, in the other universe would be amazing. You and me would be like the talk of the week,
king of the alternate universe.
Exactly, would be like Will Smith and Chris Rock. Basically, everybody's talking. Why, whatever. Something is insane like that. But
next time we meet, you'll just have to slap me. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
I'm trying, but it works. See, now now people are gonna talk about that. But anyway, like people have to understand, like when you start a project, I bet when you start your band, it was like thousands of people watching. Probably was only some friends and some drunk guy that didn't know why you were there. Well, tell me more about how was your first gig?
First gig?
Yeah.
My first gig was in Birmingham, and I sort of did an apprenticeship, if you like, while the old lead singer was still there. I'd get introduced halfway through and do a couple of songs, and they go, "This is the bloke that's going to take over from me." And I did 2 songs. I'd had quite a bit to drink, but not like pissed. And I remember at the end of the song, people clapping. There was only about, 20 people there, but I remember people clapping. Yeah,
it's like this, 25,
and nobody's
28.
clapping.
Yeah, maybe they are clapping at home. They're clapping there. Like you cannot hear, but they are doing that.
And I can still remember hearing the applause, the smattering, and thinking, "Oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I am good enough." And it just went like that. And within about 12 months of those sort of levels of gigs, we played a new venue that ended up failing as a venue. We played to 2 people on the Friday, and the day after, I had my first festival, which was a bikers festival. Ooh. In Melton Mowbray, the place famous for pork pies. And I think there was about 600 people there. So I went from 2 people to 600 people, and I felt at home on a bigger stage with more people, and I felt less self-conscious and less shy. And that, hearing that level of applause and cheering, I knew then that even though I'm self-conscious and self-doubting, I thought, well, they can't all be wrong, these people clapping. They can't all be that drunk. I must be okay. So from then on, I sort of relaxed a bit.
And then you say biker, wasn't all those Hells Angels there?
I've gigged at the Hells Angels clubhouse in, I forgot where it was. But yeah, we've gigged for bikers a few times, different chapters. And we have actually gigged for Hells Angels, a private gig for them.
You're not scared of the sins. They are violent. They say, no, I don't know. That's people say. I never heard.
Oh, yeah, they're intimidating. They are violent. Yeah, it's part of. They say they're not part of organised crime, but that's what the Hells Angels history is linked with, organised crime. I ain't saying they're all criminals. Most of them will just like bikes and rock and booze. But yeah, I mean, I've never had any problems with any bikers, but I've never caused them any problems. So.
Mm-hmm. So when you go to this bar, like full of bikers, then they're all like big men, like hairy. Then you never someone look at you, like you don't have a beard, and you look, you don't look man like us.
Intimidating. Yeah.
And nothing like that. Then you go to the bar and you ask for milk, and they start to laugh at you.
Yeah, they do laugh when I ask for milk. Yeah,
Laugh, yeah.
But to be fair, even little girls would laugh at me if I did that. So that's
Okay.
nothing to do with being a biker. No, never had any problems at all. Not once.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, but, people ask you if it's a strange question, but why not? Let's finish with a strange question. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Jordan Pete, yeah, I know Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist.
Yeah, from Canada.
12 rules for
Rules of
life.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I know him. Are they asking what side of the political fence I fall on and whether I like him or not? Well, I'll be honest.
You never bought the book, basically.
Even though I would class myself as a democratic socialist in the English post World War II tradition, welfare state, National Health Service. I'm not such a rabid radical lefty that I think anyone with an opinion outside of my bubble is automatically a Nazi. Like calling Jordan Peterson a Nazi is ridiculous. He's not. If anything, he's a traditional old liberal, if anything. Obviously he's got tendencies towards the right because of his like Christian views and some of his social views, particularly regarding like the trans issue and that. But to call him a Nazi and all that bollocks now, there's a lot you can learn from him. Even though I don't subscribe to him, I'd never have a poster of him on my wall. And most of his fan base seem to be a bit fucking of your incel, rabid right wing variety. No, he's all right. I think he's got a lot to teach and a lot to learn, but I don't think you should only ever learn from one source or one person. I like Slavoj Žižek, as I like listening to him as much as I like listening to Jordan Peterson. Slavoj Žižek's a communist. I'm not a communist. Jordan Peterson's a right of centre liberal. I'm not a right of centre liberal. I'm more of a left-leaning social democrat. So, but you could, you should listen to everybody. You shouldn't pigeonhole anybody. You should never find yourself in a bubble because you'll never learn anything.
That's amazing. Oh, I would like to thank you, Arron, to come here. It was an honor. I'll tell you something, honor. Like, really, it's like I don't know, this can be like this, let's say that this transition moment, like from nothing
To
to
nothing. What's double
anything.
Nothing.
Nothing, exactly. From zero to. But the main thing is like you cannot go lower than nothing. Like, can you go less than minus nothing? I don't know if it's possible.
No, the only way is up, mate. The
It's
only
only
way
up,
is
man.
up.
Exactly. So we're okay. The only way is up now. So, well, never know. Never know. Maybe next time you come to this podcast again, we're gonna be laughing about it, like because we're gonna be the same. We're gonna be laughing. It's gonna be the same. It's still the same thing. My God, what happened here? I don't know. So yeah, before we go, Arron, you want to say something? You wanna? I don't know if you have like a YouTube channel or a Twitter or whatever. Or
Just my personal Facebook, Arron Davis. If anybody wants to add me, of course they can. Look up Whole Lot of DC. Obviously the UK one, not the mainland Europe one. Or look them up as well. They're probably very good. Revival retro events. Look up the convention if you're into your gaming. Other than that, no. I just want to thank. I want to thank our listener for their question. All one listener.
which?
No, over the course of the podcast.
No. The thing is, like, this podcast is going all over the place. So it's 25, 24 now. Ooh. So because I told you, it's going like it's not only one listener. It looks like one listener. Like, let's say like now, how bad it is. Basically, my Facebook is 0, in my Twitch 1, in my English channel 2, in my Brazilian channel 2. In the English like podcast is 0 now, and the other channel is 0 as well. So basically, at the moment, it's about 24 altogether. So I open here. So
well, thank you, all 24 of you, and thanks for the questions as well.
Exactly, it wasn't that bad. You thought it was only one? No, it's not only one. It looks, it was one. You want, like I told you, one platform. All the platforms I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even Twitter, this is Twitter, Twitch, 4 channels, YouTube. Wow, more people, more platforms than people. That's the way I'm gonna win this. So, all right. So thank you very much. So
You're welcome.
yeah, and I think people. So people who stay here, give us support. They're gonna like Shadi, Alfeo, Richard. Thank you, Smarter, Kiwi, Slim, Shady. Oh, galera, thank you very much, everybody. So see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's another live. I don't know what it's gonna be about, but I hope it's gonna be more people than that. If you know, I'm gonna be like getting depressed, and that's it. So I don't want to be depressed. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you. Closing live